We're very frugal people. Like, we don't need a lot for ourselves, and we drive old cars. Our house only has a bed and a couch in it, but that's how we like to live.
The work you guys put into getting this is amazing. But talk about how the idea started and then like actually what it actually is.
We want to help veterans. We want to help first-time homeowners. We want to help the workforce that can't afford housing. We were just hearing the stories, and the idea of a tiny home community came to mind for affordable housing. So there goes the 46 acres, and now we are good to build 184 units with around 96 of those being micro homes.
This is not a big city, so like this is gonna make a big impact on people there. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Ron Apke, joined today by Brett and Lauren Schreiber. Welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and you guys are an interesting story, and that's why I wanted to, we're in Knoxville, Tennessee, recording this. You guys are an interesting story as far as when you joined the program, but just get started on like what brought you to land investing as a whole. When you first got started, it's probably a year ago. I think I was in Florida last year when I might have talked to you and you were looking into it to get started. Can you talk about like what kind of got you into land investing, land flipping? And I know you will get into all the details of everything else you guys are doing.
Yeah, so originally I was working as a pharmacist and not really enjoying it that much. And so I had talked to Brett, and a lot of people in our Mastermind Action Academy were getting into land flipping and just hearing their success stories. Told my husband, let's go ahead and try it out. We started doing this nonprofit project and my hands were kind of full. So I had talked to Brett and was like, hey, you want to go ahead and do some land flipping? And yeah, so we started diving into it, and it was just took off from there. And our main focus has been the nonprofit end of it, but yeah, we've been very excited to really get going on the land flipping now that we have a little bit of extra time while we're waiting for rezoning. So
we'll get into that. Brett, what were you doing prior to all this? What was your career?
So I started in hotel management and kind of worked my way up in Vail, Colorado. So I lived out there for about 14 years. It was about 2019 or 2018, I started my short-term property management company. So I manage rentals in Vail and throughout the Vail Valley. So yeah, that's what I do. I still do that now. It's always diminished quite a bit from moving to Tennessee from Vail. But yeah, that's what I was doing when I started.
So now you're doing the short-term rental management for Tennessee properties. Is that correct?
No, I'm still out in Vail.
Oh, it's still out in Vail.
Yeah, so I just do it off from the phone and kind of manage it that way, rates, guest relations, all that stuff.
Nice. How many Airbnbs are you managing?
Right now, only 4.
Okay.
Yeah, it started out much more, but living in Tennessee, it's a little tough.
And Lauren, how long were you a pharmacist for? What kind of drove you away from that?
10 years, and anybody who's worked as a pharmacist, the whole retail life has definitely driven me away.
Takes a toll.
Just a little bit.
So did you quit being a pharmacist and you didn't know what you're going to, or we'll get into this nonprofit, or was that kind of like, I want to do this?
Yeah, I still work as a pharmacist, like very part-time right now. But yeah, I was still doing it because I love working with customers and with my patients. But I just felt like I could make a bigger difference in people's lives other than just dealing medications to people. So.
Yeah, I worked in a pharmacy probably like 2 or 3 years back when I was in college. And probably a lot of people listening, I have a chemistry degree and I always wanted to be a pharmacist growing up. And then I worked in that pharmacy. Like, no, this is not.
Yeah.
That's when I transitioned to like, okay, maybe I'll teach high school. And that's what I did. But yeah, the pharmacy, the retail, like you said, I think the retail kind of just wearing on you, dealing with customer after customer after customer, and people trying to get scripts that they shouldn't be getting and all that other stuff. I know that whole game for sure. So so you guys started last year. What did that kind of look like? What were your goals 2024 in terms of land? Was it like doing land deals? I know you guys will get into I've said that multiple times, we'll get into the nonprofit. But what was kind of your mindset when you got in as far as goals for 2024?
Really it was, everyone talks about all the big deals and all the big money you can make from it. And then there's a couple other folks from Action Academy involved with it too. So we really just wanted to try something new. Obviously doing property management, getting into land, never bought a piece of land before, clearly never sold one. So it was just a really, really fun way to kind of get into real estate. That's a little bit different than the norm, whether it's burst strategy, flips, holds, whatever the case might be. So yeah, we were just going in there, let's get our feet wet, and went through your program and started moving, started sending out mailers, got a bunch of hits, figured out we probably don't want to go in Northeast Tennessee up in the mountains. A lot of people weren't buying in that area. So we kind of learned the hard way, but also trying to do it strategically and, try not to, max out too many credit cards, so to say. We were just trying to, buy our first piece of land. That happened in, July?
Yeah.
July, and that was actually really close to us. We had some great in Washington County, Virginia, so that worked out pretty well. I'm still holding on to it. Hopefully something will change here in a little bit. But yeah, and since then, we ended up closing on 2 more properties in 2024. So we have a total of 3 now. And then, we're trying to,
Trying
We
to
have
offload
like
them right now.
get rid
bunch
of
of
them.
PAs signed that we're just
Nice.
doing due diligence on before we close on. So.
Yeah. So is your volume up a lot more as far as like goals for 2025? Because it seemed like
Yeah.
2024 is like a big learning year for you in land. And then you obviously had a lot of other stuff going on. But was that like a big learning year? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it was extremely a learning year. I mean, everything I was handling my own property management company, so I was kind of doing everything on my own. Which when you go into land flipping, there's so many different details, and organization's a huge, huge matter. And then just learning how to negotiate. I didn't have a sales background. Still working on that still. But it's one of those big, hurdles you have to overcome. Getting on that phone, being able to kind of convince a seller to do something that they maybe not didn't want to do or didn't think about they could do, or what, like, oh yeah, this is an option. So kind of getting over that was definitely a learning process. And then just the computer work side of it as well. County selection, all that stuff was actually, fairly easy. But kind of just keeping track of warm leads and handling that on a daily basis. It's a lot.
And I think part of it was like a mindset thing as well, because you start, it's not a cheap thing to do,
No.
land flipping. And then when you're seeing all the credit card bills go up, and like he even said, he's like, I don't feel comfortable this keep going up and spending this much money without like solid leads. So really trying to get over that and be like, okay, just trust the process, make sure that you're sending as many. And I think when it really started picking up was when in August we were waiting for rezoning for our nonprofit stuff, and I was like, hey, let me take over, let's do texting instead. And then so I started doing the texting. He didn't have to worry about getting the leads. I just sent them to him, and then he would kind of like close it and then do all the due diligence. So really like partnering together, making clear decisions of like, hey, you're doing this, I'm doing that. And then we were able to really like buckle down and tackle some. So we've got a lot coming up that are going to be closing soon.
Is that mindset, like, did that turn in August when you guys started getting higher volume leads and cheaper leads also? Like, it's cheaper when you're doing texting, and it's not as like, I 100% understand where you're coming from when you're sending 60-cent pieces of mail out over and over, and like, I need some deals, I need some leads. And like the lead thing definitely increased with texting. Was that like a big shift in your guys' mindset and business as a whole in August?
Yeah, yes. Once we started doing the texting, I felt like the leads were, not only did we have more leads, but they're much stronger leads. I felt like that was because you could really kind of vent to people over texting, is what she handles, and ask some different questions. You can do some due diligence over texting and things of that nature. So I felt like once we got those leads, we had a lot of questions already, questions already answered, that you wouldn't have to do if you had a mailer. So, you get a mailer, sometimes you'll just get those mailers sent right back to you signed. You're like, oh, that's maybe not a good deal, or maybe I'm pricing a little bit too high. And then you look at it and it's, it's an incredible slope. We're at about 80% slope on the whole thing. And it's like, okay, no wonder they sent it into us. So there's a lot of those. I felt like it got rid of a lot of the kind of like bad leads, so to say. And we were able to really kind of dig into the leads that we had and put more time and investment into those, and the negotiations and rapport with the sellers.
So did you guys transition to 100% texting at that point?
Yeah.
And then you're dealing with like before they show interest, is that correct? And then you send that. Do you set up a call for Brett, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I just started sending, to start with, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I was sending all these texts out and just putting them into a Google sheet for him. And he literally was like, you're going to have to look at this land. He's like, are you kidding me? Like, look at what you're sending me. I was like, I don't get it. You said you wanted leads, and that, most people are like, you should just set up a call and talk to the seller. But we were getting so many that he was talking to so many people a day, and it was all like crap land. So I did more vetting then, and I started, which people might agree or disagree with this, but I'd start being like, do you know what price you'd like? And because most of the people that we were getting were just like market rate.
Yeah.
And so if they were anywhere near market or below, then I would send them to him to kind of negotiate more, and try to really zone in. And we're still learning. Like even now, we just hired a VA, and I'm realizing different gaps. Like, okay, maybe I need to explain that better. We need to do this better. But yeah, learning along the way, I think is really helped us.
So how many texts a day right now are you sending?
We're doing per month 20,000.
Wow.
So
Okay. So
yeah.
you got, okay. I was expecting like 3, 4. So you're sending 20,000 texts, all
A month.
different leads, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
20,000 texts.
So around like anywhere from 600 to 1,200 a day.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome. And how many leads are you getting per day? Like Brett, you're probably pretty busy with this, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, we have our we use Asana now.
Yeah.
Is one of those things
Yeah.
we kind of learned from the last couple of weeks of digging down in some masterminds. But yeah, so we do that. But 3 or 4 a day, maybe, or 3 or 4 every few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A handful a week or so. And a lot of them are pretty solid. You know, they're either way. It's maybe a double close, novation style, or you know, we might be at that 40 to 50% market value, which we know we're funding it all ourselves. So we don't have to go out and search for funding. So that's okay for us to hit that 40 to 50, even maybe a touch higher, depending on the size of the land and the value of the land and things of that nature.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
But
you
we were kind of all scattered all over the place. And like, I mean, he was feeling overwhelmed. I was feeling overwhelmed. I'm like, I feel like some leads are falling through the cracks. So we started Asana and kind of like assigning tasks to each of us. And that's like been kind of a big game changer for us as well.
Not much overlap from you guys as far as tasks anymore, or is it still a decent amount of overlap? How's that doing?
I kind of just pick up because we just hired a VA last
Yeah.
week, and so they started texting, which has been awesome. And so what I started doing is like helping out when he couldn't make calls, like real estate agents, like just shooting some texts to some agents, kind of trying to vet them. And yeah, just picking up the slack where he's like, "Hey, I have all this stuff I have to do. Is there anything that you would mind taking over?" So
Yeah. Anything dealing with the seller, I handle.
Got it.
Whether it's negotiations, due diligence, getting down to real estate agents, things of that nature. But a lot of times we'll do pricing and send out Google messages is what we do a lot for real estate agents.
That makes a lot of sense. Are you guys trying different areas, or like you don't have to say any specific areas? Like, what does that look like, or do you have a few areas that you like a lot in terms of where to do this business?
Originally, I was like, well, let's start in our backyard.
Yeah.
You know, East Tennessee is one of the fastest, hottest growing areas in the country. Like, let's kind of start in this area. So, you know, Southwest Virginia, all East Tennessee, Southeast Kentucky, and things of that nature. So that's where we kind of, put a lot of focus on. And we've kind of spread out a little bit more. And then we've talked to some other people, Brian and Landon, and like, you might just want to, stick in those hot spots, and that you have all your agents, you have all your pricing, you have everything that you need in that area. You don't have to, keep reinventing the wheel in different locations in different states. And so yeah, right now we're kind of zoned in on kind of Southeast region. But I mean, we've had a lot of luck up in Pennsylvania as well, and we've had some luck in Oklahoma too. So so yeah, we kind of have a couple different random areas, but a lot of our stuff that leads, especially hot and warm leads, have all been within like kind of the Southeast.
Makes sense. So what are you guys kind of projecting for 2025 with the land flipping business?
Yeah, right now it's want to hit $500,000. I think that would be the most ideal. And yeah, we're shooting towards that. We've got 3 ready to sell, and we got 2 more closing, or not closing, but going under contract this past week, with hopefully a couple more this week. So we got a lot of work to do before we kind of hit the nonprofit side. So I think 2025 is kind of the grind year, make it all work out, and hopefully hire 1 or 2 more people to kind of take off what Lauren's doing right now, since she'll be doing pretty much all the nonprofit stuff moving forward. And I'd like to get to a point where I'm just kind of handling negotiations and kind of the sell points.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
What is $500,000 like? If you guys made $500,000 in this business, what does that do for you guys?
It would totally change everything. Honestly, it would probably help our nonprofit more than anything. But it also gives, relief to family, friends, things of that nature. I mean, we're very, I like to give back, things of that nature, philanthropic or something.
Yeah.
But no, like we're very frugal people. Like we don't need a lot for ourselves, and we drive old cars. Our house only has a bed and a couch in it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how we like to live. We just rather give back and help others, take people on vacation, things of that nature.
Love that.
So, yeah,
that's huge. Lauren, we talked a little bit about hiring a VA before this, the struggles with hiring a VA. Let's talk about that whole process. Because hiring your first virtual assistant, like it's an important position. You see how much they can do. Talk about like the process of hiring them, the struggles of going through that as well.
Yeah. So we did, I can't even remember the site now, but we just posted the job. I had, ChatGPT help me create the job. And then from a couple other of our friends, they recommended, putting something in there, like have them list the subject as their favorite color or something like that, to kind of make sure they're actually reading the job post and not just applying to everything. So we did that, and we had so many leads come in for that position. That was overwhelming. So I just kind of buckled down because we had combined it with the nonprofit, because eventually with the land flipping, we would like to purchase land to develop on and do more of the microhome communities with that. So I kind of paired it with our job posting, and people that really seemed to want to help with that as well. I interviewed probably like 5 different people and realized real quick that some of their English wasn't good. But then I had them just do a task. I said, hey, if this is the text message you get, what would you respond? And that was like a clear indication of who was actually going to be good at texting. And it's worked out. I started him the next week, made some Loom videos of just like the process. And then we've been doing more Loom videos just of like feedback. Obviously he likes being able to look back at those videos and be able to like pick it apart. And so yeah, it's been good so far. It's only been a week, so it's a learning process. We'll take all the tips and tricks from everybody else.
What was the posting name? Like, what was the title of your job?
I think it was just something I don't even remember.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember.
But the goal is texting, is that correct? Like
Yeah.
texting responses, take that off your plate?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. Yeah, I was doing like $4 tasks
Yeah.
for way too long, probably.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's I mean, Brian talks a lot about like buying back your time. I know he's with Dan Martell, stuff like that. I'm rereading that book again. We're going through we actually hired Dan Martell's team for some stuff for Land Portal to kind of help with some stuff. But yeah, as far as like buying back your time with VAs, it's a ton. I always like getting them to send videos in, opposed to like the color thing, getting them to send videos in of answering 3 questions. So like click through like, okay, this person doesn't make sense. They can't speak a lick of English.
Yeah.
And you'll eliminate 50% because they won't do a video. You'll eliminate another 50% of that group because they can't speak English.
Yeah.
And then just like narrowing it down. But yeah, hiring the first one, it's much more, it'll be a lot easier for you the next time, I'm sure. 100%. So are you working hand in hand with him as far as the texting and stuff like that? Or because you want to eventually him replace what you're doing. But then Brett is going to have to deal with the leads that he's sending. So if he screws stuff up, Brett's going to be like, okay, we got to work on this. How's that kind of working?
Yeah, so they're only doing 4 hours a day right now. Okay. So just getting it all sent out, and I worked like the first 2 hours just sending out texts so that their inbox is full and they can respond, because a lot of people just say they're not interested. So that's pretty easy. And then I just kind of, for this past week, I've been reviewing their text messages, and if something doesn't make sense, then I'm like, hey, just so you know, with this kind of text, this is what you should be saying. But yeah, as soon as they feel like really confident in that, we're going to have them start doing like county selection and then pulling and importing it into launch control.
Nice.
And doing all of that for us as well. And I mean, with just even a week, I can tell he'll be ready to go pretty soon. So it's exciting.
Yeah. So right now it's you two kind of working hand in hand, and then like Brett's like still doing the sales. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. That seems scalable. Like if you can get that, it's tough because you need like the systems in place. Do you feel like the systems are in a good place to be able to hand off to someone?
What systems?
As far as like the launch control systems in terms of
yeah.
So you have launch control. He's going to be in Asana as well, everything like that.
Yeah. Eventually. Right now we just have him putting what he thinks are leads, and we don't have him offering on, because I don't think he feels confident yet pricing the land. I don't even sometimes. But yeah, we have him just going in and putting it in a Google sheet like, hey, these are what I think are leads. And then I go in and double check them, or I give them an offer. And then if he brought us any leads, then I've already told him like, hey, once we sell it, or once we buy it and then sell it, you get 1% commission for bringing that. So kind of trying to incentivize them as well, so that they feel like, hey, if I'm doing good work, I'm going to get rewarded for it as well.
Got it. That makes sense. Do you guys have any goals as far as for 2025 with like bigger deals, different niches, as far as subdivide, anything like that you guys want to target or attack?
Definitely subdivide. That's up on my list. Really anything from about 3 to 6 subdivided lots. It's one of those things I don't want to get too deep into, then all of a sudden find myself in a hole and can't get out, or don't have the resources to kind of help me. So kind of, crawl before I walk on that level. But that's something I would definitely like to do. And then the other ideas of figuring out ways to sell land. If like, because right now we've held on to two parcels for about 3 or 4 months each, and okay, how can we make this more desirable? So it's either one like clearing land. Okay, so we cleared it. So what else could we do? Well, how about throwing a micro home on it and different things of that, or a modular home, or any type of thing like that. So one thing I would like to try to do is figure out a way to kind of create more value for the land, And whether it's a house or something else like on a river, a cabin, or some sort of Airbnb type thing. So just some different creative ideas on ways to sell the land. And because I mean, I feel like everything kind of comes in flows when it comes to selling. So yeah, figuring out ways to kind of make it more desirable to sell, and then subdivide. I mean, we're kind of slightly working on a subdivide right now, possibly. One that we just got under contract about a week ago. It would just be cut into two parcels from one. And it's kind of like, okay, this is a place to kind of get started and kind of figure out all the things, in contact with the county, the city, try to figure out all regulations. And it's kind of my first time going through that process. It's a lot of work, but it's also kind of like, it makes sense for this property. So like, why not try it? And then hopefully we can build on that even more and then kind of focus on those with more road frontage and more acreage and move on from that.
Yeah, because I mean, for your $500,000 profit goal, it's not like you guys need to do 100 deals or anything like that. Like 2 deals a month, 24 deals. Like I think that will turn into 500,000. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, especially when you guys are funding a lot yourselves. But let's get into the nonprofit Heidi's House of Hope. Talk about how this started, and we can get into the details of everything. But this is the main reason. Like I'm very, very interested in this. The work you guys put into getting this is amazing, and I know it's been a long process for sure. But talk about how the idea started, and then like actually what it actually is.
Yeah. So originally when we were in Vail, Colorado, again, I was just kind of sick of pharmacy, and you start listening to Bigger Pockets and you're like, oh, let's buy up all this real estate. So you can't buy in Vail, Colorado for under like $400,000.
Yeah.
So we started buying in his hometown of Johnson City, Tennessee. And, we hit that like, oh, we bought a sixplex and we were so excited and it was cash flowing great. I'm like, this is so easy. Let's just buy more. And then when we moved back last summer, we were just fixing up the rentals and we were just hearing the stories from the tenants and their struggles with housing. There was one girl that had waited 2 months for one of our rentals. And I was like, why would you wait that long? No one waits that long for housing. And she's like, no one else will take me. I have a background that, you saw it wasn't that great. I was like, well, are you still doing those things? She's like, no, I'm trying to get my life together, but no one will give me a chance. This woman was like 38 years old, couch surfing. And it just kind of broke my heart. And I came back to Brett. I was like, Brett, like, why are we here? Like, there's a reason that God put us here. Like the sun, moon, and the stars, like all connected for us to be here in this moment. Like even the fact that we met is crazy. And so, yeah, I just went to church that next Sunday and I was like, God, why are we here? Like, why did this provoke my heart so much? And the idea of a tiny home community came to mind for affordable housing. And it's morphed since then. It just started out as an idea and I just started talking with everybody and anybody that I could possibly talk to. Like, hey, what about affordable housing? And I looked into other nonprofits, but nobody was really doing like smaller homes in our area. Most homes are 3,000 square foot in Johnson City, Tennessee. And I told Brett, I was like, I feel like a smaller footprint of a home could give that home ownership to people that really would, help them build wealth. So we started the nonprofit, literally was at a real estate meetup and somebody's like, are you for profit or nonprofit? I was like, I don't know. We don't need to make a ton of money. I guess we're nonprofit, like just completely oblivious to what a nonprofit was. And we started the nonprofit and, you got to take action in Action Academy Mastermind. So we started the nonprofit and we've kind of switched. That was like October of 2023. And we kind of switched focus to be micro home community. Our mission is to provide attainable housing and a strong sense of belonging through micro home communities. And we believe that you can put somebody in a home, but they might be the loneliest they've ever been. So having that sense of belonging and community is really what helps somebody thrive. Along with that, like these homes, they aren't going to be on wheels. They're going to be on permanent foundations. We want to help renters to become homeowners and help them build wealth through home ownership. The first home I ever sold, I made like 50 grand profit. I was like, holy crap, I need to keep buying real estate. And for a lot of people, especially in this area, they don't realize that they can build wealth through that. And they don't have to live paycheck to paycheck if they invest in just the primary residence, just being the start of it. So yeah, these homes will be anywhere from 500 to 900 square foot. And yeah, we're really excited for it. We bought this 46 acres of land. It was kind of so wild how we even came to that. We kind of did the low ball offering to people, literally made like 15 LOIs for property that was on land. I gave them a cash offer, I gave them a seller financing offer, and then I gave them a full price offer if they just partnered with us. And somebody was literally like, I would love for my land to mean something for the community. And they accepted our lowball offer. So there goes the 46 acres. We went through rezoning, and now we are good to build 184 units, with around 96 of those being micro homes for people in our community. So we're really excited for it.
Before we get back to the show, guys, make sure to leave us a comment and hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Ron and I read through every single comment individually. It helps us plan our 2025, our topics, what you guys want to hear, and helps us improve the show. It means a lot, guys, and let's get back to the show.
That's amazing. So 46, I thought this was like a long-term vision, honestly, when like I had no clue coming into this, like, okay, yeah, she just talked to some potential tenant, and then like, yeah, turns into this, which is awesome. Like that's what Action Academy is about. That's what life's about. Like just figuring out something, like not wasting years kind of doing it. And this has been, so when did you talk to that tenant? Was that 2 years ago?
It would have been, yeah, I think it was like in July or August of 2023. And then we started the nonprofit in October of that year. And honestly, it wasn't until after we went to Cabo international trip with Action Academy again. Shout out to Brian. Thanks for changing my life. But it wasn't until then that I realized I was limiting myself, because I was like, well, I don't have that much money to put into this. And people just said, you're scared, but if it's a good deal, like you will find capital. And so that's when I was like, you're right. Like I'm scared it's going to fail. And I'm limiting myself. So I just started putting in offers, and this came about. And I mean, to tell you that like God's worked miracles through this thing, it's kind of crazy. Originally, we were going to get seller financing with this. And last minute, the seller was like, I'm so sorry, but I need the money for the business. Can you just get a bank loan? And found the worst bank loan probably that we could find, because it was so short notice. They were so gracious and funded it, but we were short 20K. We didn't have 20K liquid. And I texted some donors. I was like, hey, is there anybody that could donate? We're just short 20K. Crickets. Went to church on Sunday, and we had a message on God's perfect timing and everything. I'm like, okay, God, just so you know, I don't have money, and we need this money, so you're gonna have to figure this out, because I don't know what else to do. And literally, I got a text that right after service from somebody, where do I wire the 20K, like as a donation? And so that was amazing. And yeah, like doors just keep opening, and we've been connected with such amazing people that are, very like-minded and just want to help the community and house our community and give them a better opportunity for life. So,
and this isn't like, I know Johnson's saying this is not a big city, so like this is going to make a big impact on people there, big impact on just what people can do, like more access to affordable housing, which is your goal essentially. So it's gonna make a huge impact. 184 units also. Just to like, so this isn't like you've got this plan here, but to get here was so much work, and I know how much work. But the crazy thing is, like, a lot of people are like, okay, so how many micro homes are built yet? Like, none are built yet.
Not yet.
None are there. Like, there's no roads in there yet. But talk about the approval process, because I think to go on to like what you were talking about, Brett, in terms of subdivide, like doing this work, the value, the knowledge that you guys have from doing this to other subdivides that don't have to be minor subdivides down the future can be amazing on the land flipping side. But going back to this, talk about the work, the approvals, neighbors, everything like that to get to where you are right now, which is essentially a plat with where your residences are going.
Yeah, so everybody that we told that we bought land in Johnson City was like, oh, good luck with the rezoning process. So we were already really intimidated by it. We connected with the officials and we said, hey, can you give us step-by-step what needs to happen? And just trying to build those relationships. I think that's really important, to just call the county or the city and ask them and get their opinion on the land. Originally, they told us that they didn't think it would get rezoned from anything like that was at the road. It wouldn't be any higher density. So that was kind of a struggle. We had originally only had 60 units on our concept plan. And then after talking with a few people, they said, honestly, I don't think that's going to be as cost effective as you think. And the idea of doing 184 was just insane to us at the time. So we increased it to 100. And then we're like, that's still not going to be financially feasible. Like, we need to do more. I'm like, people are not going to approve this. But it turns out, they did. It was great for the rezoning process. They had to go through 4 readings. It went through the planning commission first, passed with flying colors, and we had about maybe 6 or 7 people that went up and talked in support of it. That's really important too, because you might have 2 angry neighbors that come out and voice their, negative thoughts about it. And the board, that's all they hear. So having those people on your side to help speak in favor of it was really helpful. And then after it the planning commission got approval, then the next month we had 3 more readings. So every 2 weeks we had to go to another meeting. And again, people could share their discontent with it, or they could show support. So we originally, before the rezoning signs even went up, we went door knocking and knocked on neighbors' doors. We tried to tell people, hey, this is what's happening. And like 2 neighbors that are probably most affected by it, which is this road right here that goes in, we talked to them first and we told them, we want to help veterans. We want to help first-time homeowners. We want to help the workforce that can't afford housing. And just giving them our hearts instead of just like, hey, we're taking up all this farmland and turning it into a development that you're going to hate. Because there's going to be
very happens all over Tennessee.
100%.
Yeah.
Everyone's complaining about the farmland disappearing. That's what makes East Tennessee so beautiful. Trust me, there's plenty of farmland left. Like we're not taking it all, but yeah, it's a big controversial topic right now.
Yeah, people get very upset. So being able to share our hearts with people, I think, was really important too. And just like, hey, we're trying to do affordable housing for those most in need in our area, I think was really helpful. But yeah, the news came in and did articles on us. The newspaper came and did an article on us. And I think just us being honest and sharing our heart was probably the best move we could have done. Some of the neighbors even came and spoke in support of the project, which was really cool to see as well.
Yeah, I saw some of that. I think you posted,
Yeah.
and news, all that stuff. Like, if you didn't do that stuff, in my opinion, like it probably wouldn't have worked out. Like, if they didn't know your reason, your why, because this isn't a convenient thing for them. But I'm sure a lot of them are like, just okay, we're helping the people, we're helping the city, or veterans, everything like that, lower income. Do you think any chance you would have passed it, like if you didn't use your voice?
Possibly,
Yeah.
possibly not. But like I even reached out to every single city commissioner before and was like, hey, can I take you to coffee and just share what we're planning to do? A lot of people already knew, so that was helpful. But yeah, I went to a few rezoning meetings prior just to kind of gauge the interest, and it was terrifying. You have like 30 people come to speak against it, and you're just like, oh my goodness, that could be us. And they've had commissioners just vote against it, and we were very blessed. We had every single meeting, every single commissioner vote in favor of us, so that was really cool.
I think it's the underlying like reason at the end of the day, because people know like when it is like, and you guys are a nonprofit too. People know when there's like money hungry people that are coming in to like break something up to make millions of dollars, whatever the number is. But yeah, like putting a road right through here. I know you guys, if you guys are on audio, you can't see, but it's literally a road going through people's property, and the road is got to be very, very close to someone else's house. And it sounds like they are one person in support, correct?
Yeah, both of those people on either side of that first road are in support.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So talk about the risk of like you bought the property and you weren't approved for anything. Like you bought 46 acres. Did you buy it at a cheap enough discount? Like if something, or would you just sell it back to, like, what would that look like if not? Because you gave also from an ethical standpoint, like you gave a picture of what you're going to do with this land to the seller, and that's why he sold to you for cheaper. So talk about that, the risk of all that, like your communication with the seller potentially if something did go awry.
We originally had it contingent on rezoning, but the rezoning, us having to redo the plans a few times, kept taking longer, and he was in need of that money. So we just decided, you know what, this is too good of a deal. Like I think it was listed for $500K, and we got it for $375.
Wow.
So that was super awesome. And it appraised for $430K. So, and that was before the rezoning. So we had that already, and I told him, I was like, you know what we could do? Right now, the way it's zoned, we could literally put 200 homes up in the mountainous part, though. It was split zone. So the upper part of it was zoned for about 200 homes, and the bottom portion was agriculture, and that was zoned to put maybe 10 homes. So if all's failed, we could have built 10 big homes, and then because I was going to be a crazy lady, and I was like, I will put 200 homes in those mountains. It just might not be as cost effective. So we were going to do something with it either way. We also thought about subdividing part of it off and then just selling the land, because we did get it for a great deal. But that was scary. It was definitely scary. We were just like, okay, we have money, but we don't have that much money. Like we had to sell some antique tractors to pay the first few mortgages, just because like we have money, but again, it just wasn't as liquid as we wanted it to be, and just have that extra cushion. So yeah, it wasn't without risk, and yeah, we just got approved for a nonprofit loan, which is actually like 0% interest for 100K for 18 months that we don't have to make any payments on until the 18 months.
Really?
So that's going to help with engineering costs and with a little bit of the mortgage, architectural plans for the home. So excited for that. That was a big blessing as well.
Nice.
So
Brett, was Lauren taking the reins on this, or like where did you play in this? Just being in the meetings,
Yeah.
talking to people, everything like that, calming Lauren down when she got stressed.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, just kind of being that support system
Yeah.
for her. Yeah, I mean, this was her vision, this was her dream. I mean, I obviously was totally on board and thought it was a great idea. Being from Johnson City, I was one of those ones that would, and my parents as well, connecting her with the right
Yeah.
people. We started off with, a couple friends here and there, and then we moved up to some other nonprofits that we in town, and then churches and things of that nature. So kind of having that broader perspective of all the people that could help in the area, I think was helpful. But no, yeah, I mean, she's done all this 99% of it completely on her own, especially when it comes to all the details, when it comes to the concept plan, going through the rezoning process. I mean, she's doing 3 or 4 meetings a week, 2 or 3 hours a piece, even up till this past week. I mean, she's still out there grinding, trying to get to the connections to the right people, and they're ever growing. You meet one person, lead you to another person, but it's kind of very helpful to kind of, be from the city. So when they hear that last name, for better or for worse, they know they can put a face to a name, and I get that connection going a little sooner than.
I think they hear his accent and they're like, okay, he's from here.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Because the big thing is like, why is this girl from 815 Chicago number, coming down to East Tennessee to, take all our farmland and supposedly build affordable housing? And it's like, why is she doing all this for? So it's one of those things when, I come in, like, okay, well, he's from here. I went to elementary school, high school, went to University of Tennessee and things of that nature. They're a little bit more open and receptive to, what you have to say.
They don't dismiss me as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. But I'm sure like the support there, Lauren, like that's what my wife, when we decided to move to South Carolina, it was 8 hours, and I was literally I wanted to be a college basketball coach, and I applied to some jobs. I got some volunteer offers, and my wife like, yeah, I support you on this. And we moved. I made $0 for 2 years, $5,000. I'm sorry, I made $5,000 the first year because our coach had a stroke, and I had to move up. But yeah, as far as like the support system there, just in general, talk about working together as husband and wife in general. You guys, and that's why I wanted to talk about the land flipping business first before we got into the nonprofit. Because okay, you're doing 20,000 texts a month. We're talking about, and then like all this other stuff that you're going through. But just talk about working together, the struggles, the ups, the downs, everything in between.
Yeah, I'll go first, and I'll let you correct everything that I say wrong.
Perfect.
But no, yeah, I mean, it kind of all started when we first met on a shuttle bus heading up to Vail, Colorado. I was driving shuttles when I started my short-term property management company. So I'd get started at about 3 a.m. and end up at 11 a.m. and I'd get done with all my cleanings and handle all my business stuff. She was on one of those shuttles. From pretty much at that point on, we've been together every single day. COVID hit. So we were together every single day. And it's one of those things, I think we just kind of built that relationship where we are just constantly together, day and night. She worked as a pharmacist for a little bit, but, I've always worked from home or from my phone, so to say. So we've always had that, opportunity to kind of be around each other. And I think we kind of know how our daily goes. I'm a little bit slow to get moving in the morning, where she's a firecracker from 7 a.m. on. And so I think with that knowledge of, how we kind of go about our daily routines is very, very helpful. And that moved into, now she's, working pretty much from home full time now, and we're kind of always around each other. But yeah, it's just at some points I've gone to different places. Like, how do you guys do it? How do you guys manage other couples? How do you manage to do businesses together? We have another couple in the Action Academy, and they're kind of doing the same thing. And it's like, how do you manage this? And it's just set expectations, set roles, things like communication. Be understanding of each other's flaws and what you're good at, and kind of use those to your advantage. But yeah, I think communication and just having the same vision, the same goal in the long run.
Yeah. I think a big thing that is realizing what he can do and how he works and operates, where I could sit there and work for 12, 14 hours in a day and just be like, let's go. And where he gets overwhelmed if there's too many tasks. Like the other day I was just going through old text messages to say, hey, there's all these leads that we gave them a price. They never said anything afterwards. So let's like follow up. And so after I passed it on to him, he's like, you just added 10 tasks to me. If you keep adding these tasks to me, you're going to be in trouble. He's like, why don't you help with them? And it's just like realizing, okay, this is what he can handle. And this is what I'll give. This is what I'll set in front of him so that he can actually accomplish it. And then realizing that his workflow isn't like mine, where I'm just like, I can do 400 things today. Let's go. I think that's really helpful to set expectations, because now I know, okay, he's getting a lot of stuff done, but he just gets overwhelmed with certain things. And then for me, he keeps me grounded a lot. I'll be like freaking out about something. He's like, it's okay. It's gonna work out. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you're so chill about it. Meanwhile, I'm having a panic attack and freaking out about it. But
Our personalities very much complement each other on a like extreme level.
Yeah.
I'm very chill, relaxed, cool headed, where, she goes all through the flows of life, highs and lows.
One might say a lot.
Valleys and pits and all that stuff. She overreacts and all that kind of stuff, where it's like, man, you only can handle what you can, or you only can control what you can handle. And so just keep it moving forward. And I think that helps out a lot.
Yeah, I think controlling the controllables is in business as a whole, like especially with what you guys are doing, like there's only so much you could do to get that approved. And you did everything, like controlling what you can control. Like maybe you couldn't have, I don't want to say convinced, but maybe those neighbors weren't like on board, and like you can't control what their emotions, their opinion of this, because it is going to affect their day-to-day life without any. In business, it's so important, like controlling what you can control. So what's next for this project? Are you guys breaking ground? Like, what is 2025? We talked about 2025 with land flipping, which is going to be a busy year for you guys. 2025 with building 184 units, or starting to do that. What does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, I wish I already had all the homes built by now. Come on. We have 65 people on our wait list already. So It's just one of those things. We have a little comment section where they can tell like what they're struggling with, and my goodness, you read some of these stories and you're like, man, I wish we had homes built already. So next steps is we are doing engineering site plans that have to be approved by the city as well. So hopefully by having those relationships, that'll be a quick process. Once they'll have plans for like all the groundwork, all the utilities, the streets, everything. And then we pass that on to somebody who does all that kind of work. They give us an estimate for it, and then we start doing the groundwork. And then that very first portion up there, which I believe it's like around 6 single family homes, maybe 7 duplexes and 1 fourplex, just right here. That's going to be phase 1. And we have plenty of people to fill those up. So we'll be doing that. And then the second phase, we're moving up here because ultimately we want to pay back our loans as quickly as possible. So selling the homes is super important, and not just having the rental portion of them. And then, just getting those partnerships. We have a ton of other nonprofits or organizations that we're partnering with that are going to help with financial literacy, with health and fitness literacy, and but also having certain organizations sponsor maybe a dog park or, some cooking grills and different stuff like that. And we're hoping to have a lot of church partnerships as well, or business partnerships where they will actually sponsor a home for maybe somebody that can't get a bank loan. Maybe they just don't have credit. That's what we've seen with a lot of our current tenants, is they've kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of made some mistakes. And they don't have a credit score. And they're like, I want to buy a home and I have a good paying job now, but the bank won't give them a loan. So having certain people be able to sponsor a home for somebody so that they can get that ownership is super important as well.
So how much of the 184 are you guys selling versus keeping?
We're hoping to sell all of the single family homes, and then we will have the fourplexes and the duplexes available for people to buy if they want, but we're anticipating those to be more rentals. So those will stay.
But there's 90 single family homes, right?
Yeah, there's 96 single family homes.
Then everything else is going to be duplexes, quads, that kind of stuff. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so those ones will probably be just rentals for people.
That
But we
makes
have
sense.
had a couple people ask if they could buy the fourplex for like them and their family.
Yeah.
So they have a few different people, and
Yeah.
they're like, that'd be nice not to have to live in the same house.
Talk about the community aspect. I think that's one of the cooler things about this is, like you said, like you don't just want places for people to live, like the community aspect. And like, you're in communities with, like, I'm sure your local community, everything like that. But then you have your community with Action Academy, you have your community with Land Investing Online, and like just community in general is so valuable, and like the relationships you can build. And I know you value that. Talk about like that aspect of this project.
Yeah, so not pictured in that'll be in the site plans is all the communal amenities. So we'll have communal gardens, we'll have a mixed use building that'll have office workspace with a coffee shop, and then there'll be fire pits, pavilions, dog park, walking and biking trails, an observation deck. There's quite a bunch of different little things where it's just, oh, that's homey. I want to go help. And as we're interviewing these people to be a part of the community, we're literally going to ask people, hey, where do you feel like you could contribute in this community? And what do you see being like the best part of it, and what you can kind of donate your time or doing? And I mean, I see it as, oh, there's an elderly couple that lives in this house, and maybe they need help, driving, or maybe they need help with cooking meals or something. And hey, I want to volunteer once a week to help them cook their meals and have that community aspect. The homes will be a little bit closer together. So also, hey, I haven't seen Cindy in a while. I wonder if she's okay. Maybe I should go check on her. But really just having that sense of belonging. I feel like so many people are just glued to their phones and they don't get out and socialize with people. So having volunteer opportunities that actually reduce the cost of the HOAs in the community to help them will be a huge factor for that. And also having community events and, different food trucks that come in and like events like that as well.
That makes sense. That's really cool. So do you guys have loans lined up for this? Because this obviously, I don't know if you know what this is going to cost. It's obviously not going to be cheap. And
Super cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Do you guys have loans lined up, or where that money's coming from?
Yeah, so right now we're working with a bank that actually does special loans for nonprofits, and it's 2 to 4% less than prime for those, which is awesome. And then we also are applying for a few different grants for some of the rental units to build, which we're very hopeful for. But yeah, the first phase is around $3 million. So we'll be raising $300,000 to $600,000 for that. And we have a few investors lined up already for some of that. So,
Nice.
Haven't really raised capital, but it's been cool just having people reach out to us and saying, hey, I want to help. How can I contribute?
That's awesome. So that first phase, when do you hope to break ground on that?
We're hoping late summer, early fall.
Awesome. So last couple of things. Let's get into like, this is bigger than I believe it's bigger than anything you guys have done.
Just a little.
As far as like the mindset of like, I know Action Academy, all them, like the mindset is that like jumping into something that like you didn't know how to get things rezoned. You didn't know, you like every step of this project, you're learning something new and you're doing something that you've never done before, essentially. Talk about like the mindset behind that. Cause it's like picturing going from zero, you guys have managed some units, stuff like that, maybe own some quads, that stuff, but 184, 186, 184 units, is building them, not buying them. Like building 184 units is crazy to imagine for most people, but it's not like you guys are anything special. You just like took the steps and just kept taking action. Talk a little bit about the mindset around that.
Mostly just I'm crazy, and that's basically it. No, it's been a total mindset shift. You feel a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I learned from somebody I'm not allowed to say that anymore, because what we're doing is really creating an opportunity for people to do something amazing. And it really is. It's scary. It's super scary. And you get a lot of this, like, why me? Why should I do that? And I think a lot of that helps just that we trust in God and that we know that that's going to help us through this, but it's finding the right people. It's who, not how. And that's literally the very first 6 months. I talked to every single person I possibly could, and they probably thought I was crazy then. Like I still remember some of the people I talked to, and you could kind of tell they were blowing me off. Like, okay, yeah, well, you can join our program and then we can help you if you want. And now, like a year later, they're reaching out to us and like, hey, how can we help you? We didn't think you'd get this far. And I think it really is just taking the next step. Sometimes you're not going to know everything, which is not my personality. I'm very much like, I need to know every single detail before I do something. And with this, I'm not able to do that. Like right now, it kills me that I just have estimates for everything, but I can't get the real estimates until my engineering team does this, and until this person gives me the estimate. So it's a lot of hurry up and wait. And I hate that, but it's also like I have to trust the process and I have to trust what we're doing. And the numbers that we've run are pretty accurate based on everybody I've talked to. I've probably talked to like 6 different developers and they've given me insight into this. And again, it's who, not how. Finding those who's and partnering with them, or, saying, hey, what can I do to get your expertise? Like, do you want money? Do you want to partner on this? Like, what can I do? How can I provide you value? I think has been a big game changer. Like even some of the nonprofits that we're talking to, we've said, hey, I would give you a couple of these plots to build your homes on for people just to do it because we know that you're a good organization and you're going to be helping people too. So, yeah.
I think one thing from an outsider's perspective that is not a part of Action Academy, but kind of gets secondhand information. It's definitely like when we got involved in the group, it's like, yeah, let's buy some rentals. And it was like, okay. And then there's all these people like, I got 185 doors. I got, 700,000 square feet of storage space or whatever the case might be. All these like really lofty, amazing things people were doing. And she went through a period, like she was like, what do you call it? Shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Where you would like chase this and you chase that. And we did a little bit of this and then it'd be a week here, a week there. And it was like trying to do those big things like everyone else. And then once she started finding this microhome community, that was her big thing. And it was like, okay, now it's like, this is going to be my big thing. It might not be exactly the same road everybody else took to get to that financial freedom or to help others or whatever. So she had that. And then she started getting really competitive with it because when you go around and tell people you're building 184 microhomes in East Tennessee, first of all, they don't even know what microhomes are. They're like, well, what? But who would want to live in a 600 or 800 square foot home? Like, have you been down to downtown Johnson City lately? The majority of those houses are right below like 1,200 square feet or 1,000 square feet. So getting people to understand that was, kind of a competitive thing, like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And they kind of roll their eyes and, keep moving forward. And I think she kind of saw that and was kind of discouraged by it, but also kind of lit a fire under her to kind of, really push forward. And, you talk to 10 people, maybe 3 or 4 of them think you're crazy. Another 3 or 4 like, yeah, I love that idea, but we don't really care. And then there's only 1 or 2 that are like, this is awesome. And you need those 1 or 2 people to kind of keep that going and then like spread the word. And before you know it, we're getting met up with all these different people that are influential, whether they're contractors or developers or church people. One of our very first meetings, it was kind of a weird one. It was with our contractors who we still have on board right now. A great guy. Actually, he's friends of one of my best friends. But we kind of told him the idea. And he said some, choice words about my wife, Lauren, but it was like, she's crazy. She doesn't know what she's doing. And then, I actually talked to him. I was like, hey, you wait till you really get to know her. You're really going to think she's crazy. And this was going to happen. Well, a couple weeks went by, and then we met at McDonald's and sat down and had, I guess it was just coffee at McDonald's. And before you know it, we're going back and forth, sharing each other's ideas. He's a contractor, been in the area for a long time, building houses, actually built a couple of micro houses himself on his own land. And we were like, oh, yeah, we're breaking ground in 6 or 8 months. Well, this was 2 years ago. And so we were crazy at one point. They were like, what are you guys doing? And still to this day, he's been one of our biggest supporters, and he's going to be building houses for us. But yeah, it was that constantly back and forth. You get a couple people that, encourage you, and you get 5 or 6 that'll laugh on you, think you're crazy. And I think that just constantly trying to overcome that adversity was a big part in kind of where we are today.
Well, and I think also just taking the next step despite all the discouragement, just one step after the other. Okay, what's next? And just, if the only way you're going to fail is if you stop, and you're the biggest problem then. So as long as you don't stop, you're probably going to be somewhat successful, at least, as long as you decrease all the risk.
That discouragement, does that motivate? I'm a type person, I don't want people to encourage, don't want them to encourage me, but people doubting me, it drives me.
Well, that's why the more people that said you're not just as crazy, it's like, yes, I'm on to something.
Yeah. One more person that's
yeah. So we're on to something. We're on to something. You always want to kind of go against the grain in some little ideas, especially when there's a need. And there's a major need, and everything that they've done before hasn't helped. So it's like, okay, let's do something different, and different's a little odd and, hard to accept for some people, especially what's in their backyard or, we're asking for help and things of that nature.
Yeah. But we're solving a big need. So I think that's a big thing too. And what fired me up a lot too was just okay, how many people are going to be helped by this? I have our 6 rentals now, and those people were helped so much by us giving them an opportunity to have those homes. And I mean, I've seen story after story in our rentals, and if we can make that big of an impact at this scale, that's going to be so much more rewarding than anything we do. So Development's a very long game, though.
Yeah.
It takes way longer than anybody can anticipate. Like I said, I thought we would have 14 homes built within 2 months, like a year and a half ago. So,
The cool thing about this is the end people are going to own something. You know what I mean? Like they're going to actually own a micro home or whatever the single family home. So they're going to have like an asset. And like, that's one of the cooler things about this project. And it's going to appreciate over time. Like owning an asset in this community is going to help their financial future, their future in general. And they're going to have some security there. Is there anything for them as far as, cause you talked about getting approved for being a tenant for some of them is difficult with their credit score, everything like that. What about like them getting financing? Are you guys offering seller financing for these people who are buying the microhomes? Are there partners for banks for them for this type of stuff? What does that look like?
yeah, there's actually a lot of opportunities that people don't know about, like through different banks, especially depending on their income, that you can apply for like grants that could be a down payment for a house. Obviously, VA loans are amazing opportunities. You don't have to have any money down. And that was the reason why we did a little bit bigger too, because under 400 square foot, you cannot get a lot of bank loans. So that's why we did a bigger than 400 square foot. And also we wanted it to appreciate. We wanted people to build wealth and not just have like essentially a tiny home on wheels that would depreciate over time. But yeah, we'll have opportunities like partnerships with different banks. We might do some where if you're renting, we'll take a portion of that money and put it towards a down payment for a house like in a year or two. And then having certain people that will sponsor the homes. We've reached out to a few churches and they're like down for it. So just getting the word out, I think will be huge once we really start building. So
that's awesome. So yeah, what's next after this? Like, I know it sounds crazy, like what's next after you build these 184 units. But like, what's the bigger picture beyond this? You want to do this in other cities? You want to do this more in Johnson City? I don't know what the demand is there. What does that kind of look like next 5, 10, 15 years?
yeah, so this is going to be the model community. Once we start breaking ground and it's working and we're like, okay, we know what mistakes we've made, we know what we need to expand on, then we plan on expanding into other areas too. And right now in Johnson City, I think they said that they're short 3,000 homes or something. So they're like, yeah, you solved for 200 of them. Can you keep it going though? I'm like, yeah, we'll try. And it's also the Tri-Cities. So there's 2 other towns that are in that area that we can go try to find more land as well. But yeah, we want to expand into other areas as well.
Yeah, you could do this
Yeah.
anywhere. I mean, I always have one of those weird things. Living in Vail, Colorado for 14 years, seeing the price of rent and the price of housing is just absolutely insane. Like you could be in a 4-bedroom and have your little 1-bedroom shared with 3 other people, and you're paying $1,400 a month, plus utilities, maybe with only 1 parking spot. So like the housing out there is absolutely insane. If there was like a 20-year vision, I would love to see it, in really, really kind of touristy type areas that are too expensive for the locals to live. They're constantly moving in and out or living in horrible like living situations. So yeah, I would love to have something in Vail or like any other ski town because they all share the same problems. Because you're limited by land due to the mountains and things of that nature. But oh no, this won't be our last one.
That's awesome. That's I mean, the first one's going to be the most difficult, I assume, as far as like
Yeah.
all the learning stuff. Like the first time you do anything, it's just like, oh my goodness, this took forever. The first land deal I ever did is like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Now it's like everything's faster after you do it a couple of times for sure. Any advice for someone? I mean, we can talk about both sides. Like any advice for someone looking to get in land flipping, looking to do something that like seems great? People tell them that it's crazy. Like a lot of people have visions and then one person tells them like, yeah, that's not happening. And then they stop. But any advice on either? Let's talk about land flipping first, as far as someone looking to get into land flipping.
First thing, systems, processes, get those down, stay highly, highly organized. If you think you're organized, you need to times that by 2. When it comes to land flipping, the amount of information that you receive and deliver on a single day is like amazing. So yeah, I would say organization, processes. Try to get a VA on as soon as possible, even if it's for a short amount of time, to handle the things that just take time, whether it's county selection or sending text or other very remedial type jobs. I think that would have been extremely helpful from the front end. Then you can kind of spend more time overseeing all the things that actually make you money, whether it's negotiations and things of that nature. Another thing, from someone not coming from sales, get into negotiations, start having those conversations, write down, situations that might arise and have those have the answers for those questions or whatever that might be. Read some books, get some knowledge, listen to podcasts, do all those kind of things to kind of really get yourself very comfortable. I did hospitality my whole life. I can build rapport with anybody, but going up in hospitality, when someone says no, you're usually like, okay, yes, now you can keep it moving. Well, now you got to do complete opposite. Now you got to transition yourself to not only say, figure out another way to convince them, but those are the two huge things. And be confident in yourself. If the numbers work, fire the trigger. Let's make it work. And then, I think those are the main things that I would.
That's
I would
awesome.
probably.
So like trust the process too. Like realize, okay, you might only get one deal for X amount of mailers or X amount of text messages, and just know like, okay, that credit card bill's going up, but it's gonna work eventually. Just it's a numbers game for a lot of it. So
Awesome. What about that person, Lauren, who's trying to do something that's seems crazy at the start?
oh man, don't do it. No, just kidding. I think it's more just, if it seems crazy, you probably are crazy, and that's okay. Just follow your heart. I would say if something sparks an excitement inside of you and you feel called to do it, or you realize that you're solving a problem that needs to be fixed, just go with it and get in the rooms with the people that are doing bigger things than you, because then you'll seem like just a normal human being. Having that, asking as many questions as possible. And I think where we thrive is we tell people, hey, I don't know about that. I don't know. Can you help me? And just being really honest and accepting feedback and being okay to pivot if something isn't working. And that's why I like phase one. If something doesn't work, we're going to pivot a little bit and adjust accordingly. And I think being relaxed in that and realizing that, not everything's going to be perfect. It's okay. Even though I need everything to be perfect it's all right. It'll work out. So
Yeah, asking questions is huge. I used to be someone who was like shielded to not knowing stuff, and like, okay, yeah, you act like you know something.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what phase one even, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it is. And like just act, when you hear something that you don't understand what the heck they're talking about, like it could be a contractor like using terms like what does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming here. Anything else to add?
Yeah, so if anybody wants to reach out to us or they want to get more information, just go to our website. It's www.heidishouseofhope.com.
Awesome. Thanks for I'm excited to see, I mean, a year from now, if we do this again, when I'm driving down to Florida, a year from now, where this project will be. Sure, you'll have some micro homes, hopefully some homes built, some homes sold, everything like that, and some land flipped as well. Other than that, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, share this with friends, share it on your Instagram story. Other than that, thank you so much. Thank you guys for coming. We'll see you guys next time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.